What we'll do, we'll get started now. Majority of us are already here. Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Arsh. I am one of the account managers, channel managers here at Soft Solutions. Thank you so much for joining in this virtual session. Instead of postponing or canceling the physical events, we thought, we consolidate the 3 events into one virtual event and just get everyone here. Probably it was the easiest way going forward. So here we are in the new normal. Thank you again for joining in. So today we have 3 speakers, 3 vendors with us, as you can see. The first up we have is Luke Skinner from WatchGuard, and he will be presenting today until 3:55 p.m. And then we have some cool stuff and cool announcements as well. We got Trend Micro, Mike Phelps straight after Luke until 4:25 p.m. And then we have Carl Thompson from StorageCraft until 4:55 p.m. So this afternoon, this is the exciting bit, this afternoon is going to be filled with rewards for you attendees, to anyone who's joined the session. Just to keep this very equal and fair for everyone and avoid any fastest fingers first, we are doing a giveaway. We're doing a pop-up quiz after each presentation where you can win up to $300 each after each presentation, in total of $900. So to make it very simple, first 3 attendees to correctly answer the pop quiz question, you will win vouchers. So please answer the pop quiz question in the questions section of GoToWebinar. I feel like I'm saying questions a lot. That's where you please fully pay attention to each and every presentation, and as you have the chance to win $100 vouchers. So after first presentation, after WatchGuard presentation, we have 3 giveaway vouchers of JB Hi-Fi. After Trend Micro, we're giving 3 vouchers for Liquorland. After StorageCraft, we are giving 3 vouchers of Mighty 8. So I'll cover these quickly details after as well, after the presentation of Luke, but this is what's happening. Pay attention across the board for Luke's presentation just now. And you can win yourself a voucher for JB Hi-Fi. To keep it very fair across the board, if you've already won a voucher, please reserve your answers and give someone else the opportunity to win that voucher. So 9 vouchers to give in total, $100 each, 3 after each presentation. So first 3 attendees to answer in the question section, they get to win that. So over to you, Luke. Go ahead yeah, over to you, Luke. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Arsh. I'm just going to switch my camera off. There we go. So thank you, everyone. So good afternoon, and yeah, thank you, everyone, for joining today's session. Also, a quick thanks to all the SoftSell team for obviously pivoting so quickly to get this from to a virtual content. So thank you to those. So the presentation I'll be sharing today is really a survival through the global pandemic that we're currently experiencing. So my name is Luke Skinner, and I'm the channel and district manager for Australia, New Zealand. We also have Kurt Brandon, who is the territory sales manager based in New Zealand. So as Ash has mentioned, if you do have any questions, please do pop them into the chat box, and Kurt is online to answer those as we go along, or there'll be time at the end to answer any questions that you may have. So first, I really want to kick off with really what the state of the spending is in IT in general. And that's really going to put the framework for the rest of this presentation to really emphasize what is happening in the market with our partners and what you're up against and what you're facing. So there's a trend with the end users and what we're seeing. So the blue dots in this show the original growth estimates for the overall IT spending in 2020. And this was published by Gartner in February this year. So prior to the pandemic, the orange dots represent the adjusted worst case scenario. So here in Asia Pacific, we were looking at a 2.5% growth in this year. That has now been readjusted to a decline of 6.5%. So Gartner believes that the market won't drop below this worst case scenario, but it does actually struggle to pinpoint any granular recommendations to where it's going to finish up. So this is a very high level overview of the market trends and what we're seeing. But really specifically for WatchGuard and where we play and our partners in that security spending environment, we're going to look at a bit more of an accurate budget for partners. So this view is based on security spending forecast with an IT overall budget trend. And here we can see the projected 3-year impact of the pandemic. While most like overall IT spending, security will continue to grow year on year, even in 2020. However, the growth rates that we're seeing are going to be slashed, and it really is going to be a 3-year recovery that we're looking at to get back to those pre-pandemic levels. So where does Gartner really see the investments being made? Basically across all market segments, with the exception of the cloud security. This is where we're basically seeing most forecasts, but we're seeing a slight decline in 2020 with overall spending growth. However, for the security sector and predominantly where we play, the good news is that segments forecasted from growth from originally is to return to growth within that 3-year period. The network security, where predominantly we play with our fireboxes, this market has been forecast to be flat by Gartner prior to the pandemic. However, as with most businesses and most technologies, this is a staple requirement to issuing businesses to grow and develop in the new world. So that's a very high level overview, and we do only have 20 minutes, so I didn't want to go into too much detail, but that really is a high level overview of what we're seeing in the market from a numbers perspective. So now we're going to look at the impact of that on our providers. So the overall impact on what we're seeing with most solution providers. So around the globe, there's unanimous solution providers. They've all reported a record or very successful Q1 performance. So keep this in mind when we take a look further on into the deck. But Q1 was a hugely successful quarter for most service providers with record-breaking numbers. As the pandemic increased in March and April, solution providers all began to report very negative impacts. As this report shows, which was released in May 2020, 53% of solution providers were forecasting a negative impact to their Q2 numbers, primarily citing project delays and an inability to be on site were the top 2 drivers for this decline. Second half is a really foggy outlook at best. We all know that there's going to be impacts, but we just don't know when life is going to be back to normal, to how we can forecast the outset of the second half of this year. Despite all these financial pressures organizations are really facing, many have cited employee retention as their top concern, which leads into the pandemic. There was a study out showing that partner recruitment, employee recruitment, retention and training was a huge problem for most IT houses. There is just simply a skill shortage globally of professional IT workers, and this is really inhibiting the retain of top talent for most service providers. One of the biggest indicators of future growth and opportunity is pipeline development. And I think we can all agree that a strong pipe is a strong business. And that is exactly where many solution providers are seeing their latest issue and their biggest issue. Many report existing projects to be on hold. There's no idea, or they can't even anticipate when they're going to be revisited, and they're struggling for new pipeline. This is especially common with new customer pipeline development and the broader spectrum of working from home. However, we are citing there is a positive news around solution providers who are providing a managed service or a cloud transformation situation for their partners. This is resulting in an opportunity for future pipeline growth. And another area cited by our partners is the opportunity to migrate end users who are currently experiencing a poor experience with their service provider. The top 3 scenarios that were provided to us from our partners was a lack of flexibility, a lack of willingness to help with services they do not traditionally offer, and just an overall lack of support in these very crazy times. This is therefore driving significant financial implications on the short term, with half of solution providers stating this will have a negative impact on their cash flow. In addition to 70% of the service providers in this report, they're expecting customers to either breach a contract or just simply be unable to pay. which they feel is partly due now to the governments looking to roll back any economic stimulus or incentives that were initially in place. There is, however, privately equity firms and larger business are circling to see potential buyers as the valuations of businesses is decreasing or they're struggling. What we are noticing is there is a significant activity of M&A that actually does seem to be paused until the end of this year. So staying profitable during and beyond disruption, what kind does that mean? I've kind of spoke very high level around where the numbers are, what the trends are, what the analysts are seeing. I've spoken about what the partners, our partners are saying to us. So what does that mean? So how do you stay profitable? Well, first, we all need to survive. That's staying afloat and surviving. Then we can all survive and then thrive from there on onwards. So one of the opportunities the pandemic has really afforded a lot of the business that we're speaking to is the chance to really take a holistic look at their businesses, seeing where they can eradicate any efficiencies, looking to embrace, roll out new technologies, both internally and externally, leverage any forms of automation where possible, and upskilling and investing in their staff, and having a deeper, more strategic engagement with the vendor for around support, subscription, and what the vendor can do to help them is key to their survival. Also then looking at their go-to-market strategy, is this in line with what the demands of the market are? Are they offering a value in the form of a service or a product back to their customers, or even potentially new customers? Working from home is the new norm. The three presenters, myself and Trend and StorageCraft, we are all presenting from home. Everyone on this call would more than likely be at home. The working from home is now the new norm, and it's going to be for the remainder of 2020 and most likely 2021 and beyond. Twitter, Atlantis have all come out and said indefinitely their employees are now working from home. This creates a huge opportunity, with the 80% of businesses stating that 8 out of 10 of their employees are working from home. So where does this opportunity lie? The opportunity this creates is we're seeing a dramatic increase in security breaches, in people working from home, working remotely. In this graph, we can see the rapid growth that's coming over the future years, and this will just keep growing and growing. This really does change the conversation we have around businesses and with businesses. The threat of malicious attacks occurring and what the repercussions of that could be potentially for them as a business. And that's a really strong message that we are having with various different members or within businesses around what they're doing to not only protect their users, but to protect their business as well. So here is a WatchGuard Threat Lab report, and these are issued every quarterly, and they talk about the malware attacks, and something that we speak a lot about is zero-day attacks. So these are attacks that there's no pre-known malware or any script or any pre-num around what is the attack that's coming through, and that's something that's very prevalent now and is more and more. And then as there's more remote workers and this whole remote work technologies continues to boom with Zoom and other such mediums, this is really raising security situations that we really should be looking to address with our partners and what the market needs. So the demand for remote work and technologies has significantly increased. Companies are searching for ways to invest in productivity, and this is from our marketing dashboard, and this talks to around what the keywords are being searched for, qualified in a marketing perspective, and this is really sending a clear message to the channel that security solutions can really help ensure any form of business continuity, and the business priority really needs to be around security and securing their business and their workers. So where should you invest, or where should we be looking to invest as a vendor? And this is going to talk about what your peers are saying out in the market. So the paradigm around the traditional VAR is really at risk in this current economic climate. In contrast to where we're seeing globally service providers who have a cloud or managed service offering really seem to have a strong outlook post-pandemic, and that's really taken on that consultative model. They're the guys that are really best poised and resilient in this world to create stickiness between them and the end user. We're seeing much more positivity from what their business will be post this pandemic to that traditional reseller, that value add reseller model, what we're seeing. So WatchGuard, what is WatchGuard seeing, and what are we looking for in terms of investment? So we're really seeing that organizations must be more agile, then obviously allowing users to work from home, having the corporate resource and the corporate environment available to them, but also managing their availability and their quality of service, what they get from a remote environment. Above all workers should be secure, and that is really paramount to any business or any new business model that we're seeing. And as we move more to securing the edge, that robust endpoint security solution is really more critical than ever. We're seeing a huge shift towards usage billing, and that's really becoming more prevalent. And this is really accelerated with tight cash flows that businesses aren't able to upfront cost on large hardware products or services. They're looking to really spread that cost out. So the usage billing subscription model is really taking prevalence at the moment. So enablement and investment, we're seeing, as I mentioned, there's upfront purchases around notebooks, hardwares. It's really getting hard for businesses to find that capital expenditure, where under a subscription model, a longer term sustainable revenue model, which gives you streams of, and it's normally typically per user, per device, per month. It just creates that stickiness, and it's a better cash flow for all through the channel in regards to this. So just because a vertical is really negatively impacted and the segment like hospitality and reality, that really doesn't mean there's not an opportunity for a managed service provider or anyone providing services outside of that original scope of contract to look to build, to implement new solutions, more applications, more tools, capacity, and build a better agility and willingness to provide these solutions to these particular sectors. There's a number of sectors for healthcare, for example. They're really looking into small businesses like independent local owned practices. They're really relying on things like telemedicine and how they can roll that out and get that to their patients and the numbers. And there's an opportunity for businesses there to really encompass that and help capture new business and loyalty and guarantee for such a solution. So moving forward, WatchGuard, and I'm very cautious of my time. So I've skipped through a lot of data and I've shown you a lot of data, but I hope you get the sense and the feel that, yeah, these times are tough and they're not great for everyone for many different reasons. But the outlook, if we're set up correctly as a business and moving forward, the outlook can be very positive and there is opportunity out there. So how can WatchGuard help? So from a portfolio perspective, we have you covered end to end. For remote workers, where the opportunity is right now, our network security suite of products provides remote connections via VPN service. So anyone working from home needs to VPN back into the head office. Our fireboxes are able to do that. Anyone you've got working from home who doesn't necessarily need to VPN in, we have our DNS WatchGuard product, which is an agentless product, and that helps for any protection from content filtering. That keeps your business safe from phishing, malware, and sort of other attacks, anything outside of the network without requiring a VPN. We have our AuthPoint, our MFA product, which you can require users to authenticate via a mobile app or a third-party hardware token if that's your preference. Another solution to keeping you and your business protected, and your staff as well. And then you would have seen our recent acquisition around Panda. That is offering our comprehensive endpoint protection platform and an EDR response as well. So however your business or your customer's business needs to be protected, we have a full array of solutions available, and these are obviously all available via soft solutions as well. So I'm going to wrap up just on this slide now. So it's just something I just wanted to sort of talk about as well, is the WatchGuard automation core. This really accelerates the process and kills threats. It really empowers teams to do more, and it's automated. So with this pandemic that we're currently going through, automation is key, scalability is key, efficiency is key, security is key. So the automation that we can help you with, and the ability to automate devices, services, provisioning, configuration, troubleshooting, we are able to have a no-touch, low-touch solution to help you and your business in this current environment. And with that, I am wrapped up. So thank you again all for your time. I believe Arsh is now going to send out the pop quiz questions. So if there was any questions, I will hand back over to Arsh. And thank you again for your time, everyone.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate you running the presentation and finishing right on time. Awesome that. If anyone has any questions for Luke, please put them down in the chat or question section. Luke is happy to answer that right now, or we also have Kurt from WatchGuard attending the session, and he can also answer it in his own time as well. Just while we wait for that, let's do our first pop quiz of the day. Just briefing on some new members, new attendees who've just joined. So first 3 attendees to answer correctly the question that I'm about to ask, they will win 1 voucher each for JB Hi-Fi. So I'm giving away 3 vouchers, and the first 3 attendees to answer that correctly in the question section of GoToWebinar right now, they will be able to win the vouchers. So the question that we have for you today is, can you name 1 solution WatchGuard offers that can protect remote workers? Can you name 1 solution WatchGuard offers that can protect remote workers? So first 3 attendees to answer that. Oh, wow. Damn. Sorry, it's the amount of answers we got are that overwhelming. Okay, that's good. Thank you for participating. We have actually, let me just see, local time, the answers were posted. Okay, so we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost 10 questions, almost 10 answers at the same time to the minute. So that's a tad, that's good to know that all 10 of you were paying attention. So what we'll do is of course, the questions will be recorded and the answers will be recorded. We'll give the vouchers to the first 3 people after the presentation, and the rest of you have answered it correctly. I'm sure we can do something for you as well, because the answers were at the right time, at the same time as well. That's good. That's something I personally didn't expect, but thank you everyone for the answers. So answers have been, so the correct answer, just to let you all know, it's Firebox, DNS Go, AuthPoint, Panda, and AD360 are the correct answers, which I believe majority of you have answered that as well, which is awesome. Thank you, everyone. I will get in touch with you after this session today, and organize the delivery of the goods. Okay, thanks for that, Luke. I believe we do not have received any questions or answers in the chat yet. So what I'll do is we'll get Mike from Trend Micro to come on in and share his screen. Mike Phelps, it's all you. So we are ready when you are, and after Mike Phelps' presentation as well, we will go ahead and do another, I'll ask another question, and first 3 people who answer that will also win 3 vouchers for Liquorland. Over to you, Mike.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Is it visible now? Has it got the chat window on it still?
Sorry, what's that?
Is the chat window still visible on it, or is it just the PowerPoint?
No, just the PowerPoint.
Excellent, excellent. Sorry, that's still on my screen. I'm just trying to get rid of it. Okay, thank you all. Yeah, so I'm Mike Phelps. I am from Trend Micro. I'm based in Wellington. And and you've got my email address at the bottom. I am our vulnerability solution architect. There are 8 of us, or actually 11 now, in New Zealand, and we're part of the Trend Micro ANZ team, which is over 100 staff and about 35 engineers. So if you do have any questions, that's my email address below. Feel free to email me. So just a little bit about Trend Micro. We've been around for 30 plus years. We were established in 1998, and our CEO, Eva Chen, is one of the founding members of Trend Micro. We have over 500,000 commercial customers, and we have over 6,800 staff, and nearly half of them are in our R&D division. So research is big to us, and we are constantly looking at the evolution of security, and we have been there every step of the way. We are also the market leaders when it comes to vulnerability disclosure. During our own threat research and the Zero Day Initiative, which is an independent bug bounty program run by Trend Micro, we managed to detect more vulnerabilities than anyone else in the market. This was just released very recently, and it was taken from 2019. And as we can see there, Trend Micro picked up over 52% of the threats, which is much more significant than any other players in the market at this point in time. And we've been there through a lot of industry firsts since we've been around. So we introduced our gateway product, our land-based security back in 2000. We did integrated with VMware back in the day to provide our agentless protection. We helped develop those APIs that can be used by any vendors today, and we are still working with VMware to run NSXT on AWS. We have API integration into AWS, Azure, and GCP, and we do have our own IoT-based solutions too. We have a big plan cloud workloads, and we have introduced our writing style DNA, which I'll talk a bit more about later. We've done our own IPS, the tipping point product, and extended detection response, which I'll talk more on later too. But really just to make the point that while we've been around for 30 years, we're not a company that sat there on our laurels. We are one of the old guard in the security market, but we definitely are keeping up and competitive with what's going on for our customers. So just a bit of overview of what we'll be talking about. You know, with an ever-evolving threat landscape, detection response is becoming more and more critical for customers. Ransomware is on the rise again. As we see, the stats are really quite astounding. Every day there's something new online or on the paper about some company being hit. But what we're seeing, it's not just about encryption of your data anymore. Now those nefarious actors are actually also doing data exfiltration. So companies get ransomware. In some cases, unfortunately, they do end up paying, and they get hit again by the fact that that personal information that has been extracted is now sold on the dark web. It's more of a matter of when it comes to being attacked. The rise is just that big that the chances of being hit is really, really quite high. And with that, our new privacy legislation comes into effect in December. So this will bring in mandatory breach disclosure, prevention of destruction of information if requested under the Privacy Act, fines for failure to disclose, and potential for unwanted media exposure. So the fine is $10,000. For large companies, it really is smack on the hand. For small companies, it's enough to break the bank. But if you do fail to disclose, the government does have the option to enforce an audit at the business's cost, and the potential for actually putting preventative measures in after the fact too, which will have their own costs associated with them. So, you know, the need to be able to see what's happening inside your organization and have controls in place to protect that data is very, very important. And we also believe the need for detection response must move beyond the endpoint. Just talking about the rise in threats. This was taken from January last year. So we're seeing on average about 900,000 threats a day, 850 at the end. We fast forward to this week today, and it's basically double. We're seeing around 2 million threats. So in 18 months, it's grown by that much. And it's just showing how challenging it is for security to be able to protect against all these new different variants. So an overview of the solutions that we're offering to and we're discussing about today. Worry-free services. Now, worry-free services is an endpoint protection product that Trend Micro offers, and it's available to your managed service providers today to sell to your customers. We also have our worry-free services advanced package, which takes in email gateway protection and Office 365 protection on top of that. And just to note though, too, all these services are hosted in the Azure data center in Canberra, which is the Australian government certified. So it's not onshore in New Zealand, but it's as near shore as we can get, and it is compliant to that Australian government regulation too. So to look at what we do with endpoint protection, we take a mixture of the traditional technologies and we integrate that with the next generation as well. So we have a traditional signature-based anti-malware, but we integrate that with pre-execution and runtime machine learning. We also have our behavioral analysis as part of that capabilities as well. Behavioral analysis or behavioral monitoring, as it's called, is our key protection against unknown and new variants of ransomware. It will look for ransomware style behavior, and if it does try to infect your machine, you can quarantine that file, and if it has encrypted any files, we can restore them. This is only if it's running. It cannot do it as a retrospective thing that can prevent files from being encrypted from ransomware. We have our which will look for and protect against malicious websites or malicious browser helper objects, and that covers all the main browsers: Chrome, Firefox, Edge, with via API and a plugin for IE. We have our memory detection for things like files, malware attacks, when we're looking at things like malicious use of PowerShell, and our web reputation URL filtering. So we're not doing a proxy solution here. Well, Trend Micro does have a proxy solution if you're interested in it, but this is really about malicious URLs themselves. The URLs are websites that are known to host malicious and nefarious data, or ones that have been compromised, as well as recently stood up ones, which generally happen when you're seeing something like a targeted attack. We can take management over file encryption with the product, and we have a built-in firewall capability to isolate these endpoints. We have our virtual patching. Now, it's got a little star on it because it has been in beta for a while, but this is just at RTM. So what we have here is a host-based intrusion prevention, which can give you protection against unpatched machines. We know that every Wednesday, for once a month on Wednesday, the second Wednesday of the month is Patch Tuesday from Microsoft. This month, I think Microsoft released 120 different patches across their different product suites. And if it's an OS-related exploit and network exploitable, we can provide a compensating control to put in place using our endpoint protection agent to protect those machines until they can be patched. This is also in line with the NZI ASM requirement for a compensating control to be in place if you cannot patch within that 48-hour mandate for critical patches. We have application whitelisting capabilities as part of the product, and then we also have the ability to deal device control, so protecting against unauthorized USB devices, etc., and DLP. We have policies there to protect things like credit card information, New Zealand bank account details, and IID number, which brings us back into the privacy information thing and being able to actually make sure that information does not leave the organization. If it does, you're aware of where it's going and how it's leaving. Then on top of that, we have the ability to use our cloud sandboxing solution. So if the file gets through all these other filters and we're not sure about it, then we can put it through cloud sandboxing and run through analysis there. And then we have the detection response capabilities too, which I'll carry on more about soon. So that's our endpoint protection, and that's worry-free services available as a standalone product. But then with the worry-free advanced package, you get the Trend Micro email security. So what we now have is email gateway protection that can either sit in front of Office 365 or your G Suite or your on-premise Exchange server. And we can use that with its advanced features like IP reputation, web reputation, we have machine learning in there, DLP capabilities in the gateway too, and generic business email compromise protection. Then we integrate with our cloud security product. Threat security has these functionalities where we can do sender analysis, content analysis, attachment analysis, and URL analysis too. So we can use these different types of steps, different emails that come through to provide protection across the Office 365 suite. Cloud security doesn't just do Office 365, but it does all these modules too. So we can do Exchange Online, we can do OneDrive, SharePoint Online, and Teams, and we can do anti-malware and DLP across that as well. So again, having the ability to put policies in place to see what information is leaving your organization via email or being put up on public accessible cloud storage. But we can do threat scanning through that as well. We can also do G Suite if they are on the Google track, not Microsoft, and third-party enterprise storage like Box or Dropbox. We are now integrating more with software as a service providers too, and we can provide protection for Salesforce and Slack with more SaaS solutions coming very, very shortly. This is just an example of what we could see in 2019. I'm not going to go through more individually, but what we can see here is a number of threats for that Trend Micro has seen for Trend Micro customers that have been missed by this default Microsoft default Office 365 protection. And we also have in here other capabilities within it in our cloud security to help protect customers using that product and using Office 365. We have our behavior and intention analysis, which uses machine learning to look for things like routing behavior, high profile user similarity, and things like that. And then our writing style DNA, which is our main protection against business email compromise and targeted spear phishing attacks. We can use 7,000 individual touch points to build up a profile of how a user writes an email, how they open up greetings, hello, how their paragraph structure is written, keywords they use, and how they sign off. And we're constantly monitoring users' mails to evolve that to match their writing style. If an email is then sent or received by a user that matches it, so for example, it might be the user at Gmail or Hotmail sending an email in, or that user sending an email out. If they are compromised, if there's a phishing attempt, we will quarantine that email and we can alert the user this is occurring. So here is just a snapshot again of what I mentioned before about some of the statistics. What we're seeing here is a number of different customer industries, and we can see the varying user sizes. They've got the Microsoft Office 365 E3 protection plan, and we can see examples of what is still getting through. Non-malware, malicious phishing URLs, and business email compromise. That's great. They've only got E3. What if they're using E5 or ATP? Well, this is just another couple of examples here. But what we're still seeing is that even with those advanced protections from Microsoft, the nasties are still getting through. And an example here below, third-party email gateways, we're still picking up stuff there too. Cloud security itself is really, really simple to set up. We just API integrate into Office 365. We can run it in log-only mode as well. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to set up. And then once you're comfortable with the way it uses, we can very quickly switch it into enforcement mode and start protecting our customers from those types of malicious attacks. Another thing I'd like to speak on here is our semantic end-of-life opportunity for managed service providers. We have the ability here to look to help people migrate off semantic. So we know that it's been end-of-life and it is end-of-sale for service providers, and that's been replaced by semantic endpoint security, which is not designed for smaller businesses and managed service providers. So the impact is that you have to scramble and look for alternatives. Disruption can disrupt business flows. The current offering from semantic can't offer monthly subscription, doesn't have central management, and can't buy from marketplace. And yeah, we can't perform an upgrade without being paid. So what Trend Micro's worry-free can do is we can support that MSP ecosystem, monthly billing, licensing, and we have a remote manager. Our worry-free services agent will uninstall semantic version automatically, and we can uninstall close to 80 versions. I do have a slide available in the appendix. It's easy to deploy, and we offer more complete protection. We can also take those policies from semantic endpoint protection and import them into a worry-free services management console. This will actually allow us to, import the policies, obviously. I do have that caveat that they will not pick up everything, but it's got about a 95 to 98% compliance match. So basically, the migration plan would be import the policy, just double check to make sure everything's clean, and then start pushing out the agent via your agent deployment mechanism. And that is the migration from semantic to worry-free. Really, really simple. And then when we're looking at what we actually offer from our product to what semantic offers today, we can see there is a major difference in the features that we have available compared to what is being offered. So understanding EDR and the need for XDR. So XDR, extended detection and response, as we're referring to it, is looking beyond the endpoint itself. So a question that you can ask your customers or even ask yourselves, if there is a breach and it does occur, how long will it take to answer the questions? How did it get in? Who's been affected? Is it still here? How do we get rid of it? And how do we stop it from happening again? Now, most people I speak to can maybe answer one or two questions. A lot can answer none right now, which is fair. But if it does occur, your management team will be wanting these answers the next day. So what do we need? We need some detection response capabilities. And the endpoint detection response is a great first step. We can get that telemetry from the endpoints. And any detection response provider should be able to do automated correlation and detection, be able to do IOC sweeping, threat hunting, and root cause analysis. So giving your customers the ability to detect threats, to contain those threats, and then perform investigations. But what if we can see more? What if we can get those detections earlier? We know that email is the #1 threat vector and vital to determine the scope and impact of a threat. This is where we bring in our worry-free advanced bundle with detection and response in it. So what we're doing now is we're taking telemetry from our Office 365 protection, cloud app security, as well as the endpoints themselves. We can integrate the cloud app security into the Office 365 the worry-free services dashboard. So customers, when they're in their worry-free portal, have the ability to see not only the endpoint protection, but the Office 365 protection straight on that same dashboard. And we can see phishing and business email compromise information if there is any. We can provide enhanced threat analysis by running our own threat into our queries from the dashboard. In this case, there has been a noteworthy event. And what we can see here is we can see the movement throughout the network. That's probably quite small for a lot of people to read, but what we can see is an email was opened in Outlook 2016. They clicked on a link, that link then opened up Chrome and went to an IP address. The IP then downloaded a zip file, which then extracted itself, which was then a executable, which extracted, which was a piece of ransomware, which then started encrypting files. So this gives us the entire kill chain of what happened here. So from here, we can isolate the endpoint, or we can run a full scan across it. But we can also get the information and see, in this example here, the email was important COVID-19 information. And we are seeing this a lot in targeted attacks. Unfortunately, during these tough times, the malicious actors are using COVID as a way to attack people. And with a lot of people working remotely and from home, it is very, very big. Another one that we're unfortunately seeing a lot of is information about restructures or redundancies. It is on the forefront of people's minds, and people will just click on those links. Anyway, we can see that the subject is COVID-19 information, and we can see who that sender was. We can see that sender sent that same email to 7 recipients, and we can see that that email had 2 attachments in it, and there were 4 embedded URLs. So now that we can see that, we can actually scan Office 365 and see if it is a targeted attack. There might be multiple different email addresses and domains sending to the same or different users inside the organization. So we can see who else received those attachments, or if those URLs are embedded in any other files. And what we can do then is we can proactively rip those emails out of Office 365. We have the ability to see who has opened them, who has deleted them, if that's been forwarded on, and remove those emails from anyone who has seen it or anyone who has not opened it to prevent that outbreak from occurring any further. Here is a at a glance look of the sandbox analysis. So if the customer chooses to take the sandbox as a service option and those files go through and are sent for further analysis there, we can see in there what happens there. And we can see here an example of detections for a bad URL and the IP address. And then we can also, in both these cases, generate a unique signature that can be pushed out to all the machines in your environment. And as a managed service provider, you can actually share that intel between all your customers to create that custom signature. So if any of that attack turns up on any other of your managed customers, they've already a custom signature there to block it to protect those users. And here we can see a root cause analysis. So now that we know that that threat has happened, or there is just a major threat that has occurred throughout and is running wild globally, we can proactively do threat hunting and look for things like the file hash or the IP address of the domain. But if we get that file hash of that non-malicious software, we can then go through and proactively scan our customer environments for that, or provide information to them to do that scanning themselves. And then once we have found that file malicious, then we can actually go through and block it in that environment too. Or if the file is unknown, we just want to block it preemptively. So this brings me on to our managed extended detection response. So we know that the problem that we're seeing, I showed that slides earlier, the number of attacks has increased by just over 1 million in 18 months. And that's a day. That's massive. So we as providers and our customers suffer from threat overload. Threats are advanced. Hijacking groups are no longer just people out there for cred. They're people out there trying to make money. They are actually businesses that operate and even have call centers if you do get ransomware to help you transfer your money to Bitcoins. So these hijacking groups and state actors target small medium businesses with sophisticated attacks. And we have limited resources. COVID has really done a number on a lot of businesses, and they are looking at how they can reduce cost. Unfortunately, in some ways, that is by reducing headcount, which then leaves them and ourselves with less staff to be able to actually do the work. So investigations are really time consuming, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and having that resource available to do it when they could be doing something else is a real problem. So the solution that Trend is offering is our worry-free XDR service. So we can provide a turnkey solution that brings a holistic threat visibility and correlation across endpoints and emails, and proactively contain them using our own threat researching team. So our team look through the fog and look through all the information. We can look at that telemetry. We can work out what is actually noise and what is malicious and what needs focus on. We can use our extended detection response capabilities to look beyond the endpoint and get that information there too. And we can do cross-customer analysis for you as well. So as a service provider, you can share that information with us, or that is just shared between your own individual customers. So how does our worry-free managed detection response capabilities work? So we have sensors that sit inside cloud security, which is interrogating Office 365, and we have a sensor that sits on the endpoint. We then look for noteworthy events and we send information to our team. We will then do the problem investigation, and then we will contact you, the service provider, on behalf of the customer, and we will advise that this has happened. We will then work with you, the service provider, to work on the remediation for the customer. So, during the day, that's fine. You might have your security or your stock team, if you have one, working and able to look at this yourselves. But what happens if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and your on-call guy is just a standard server engineer or really a desktop engineer and doesn't have that security skills? Well, our managed SOC will work with that engineer to help remediate the situation for the customer. And then once it's all done, we will write a report that will be co-branded, so it will have your logo on it, and we can give an incident summary. We can provide the analysis chain on that, the key findings, the detections and where they occurred, and the actions we took to remediate. So going back to the privacy information and that mandatory data breach notification, being able to then turn around to the senior leadership team and go, this is what happened, this is how it happened, and here is a report showing what we've done, and the environment is now clean, is really powerful capabilities to have, and really beneficial for both us as service providers and our customers. So the requirements are to have endpoint protection itself, to have email protection as in Office 365, and then sign up to the service, which again is available as an MSP offering and can be done on a monthly basis. So we can provide that 24/7 monitoring, the IOC sweeping capabilities, the root cause analysis and cross-customer impact analysis. And we can provide that response capabilities too, and then assist with the remediation of it. So that's the endpoint stuff. So that was the main stuff I'm talking to you today. But I also just wanted to talk a little bit about it's a multi-cloud world. So the tagline I've been using for the last couple of years is it's a hybrid cloud world. Customers today either have servers and their workloads sitting in a data center of their own, or you as a service provider or a local service provider, and they've been dipping their toes in the cloud. Now that we've reached 2020, we're seeing a lot of customers that have not only been dipping their toes, but they've been fully embraced the cloud, or they're on the cloud. And they're not just using one cloud, they're using multi-cloud. So they've got stuff in AWS, they've got stuff in Azure, they might have some stuff in GCP, which we all have API connectors into, but then they also might be using Oracle Cloud or Alibaba Cloud or any other clouds around that are popping up all the time. So being able to look at that. So we can see that services are becoming more mobile. Businesses are extending. With the working from home, people are actually looking for more SaaS-based solutions or cloud-based solutions that don't require a VPN back into the office. And now that they're in the cloud, they're looking at things like using containers, using serverless, getting rid of our traditional workloads, and using these cloud-borne technologies. So just when we're talking about the cloud itself, so your hybrid cloud, your traditional service security, trend is also #1, has been for the last few years in that market. And we've been using that with our workload security or deep security product, as it was previously called. And because it's moving to the cloud, Trend Micro has introduced what we call the Cloud One platform. This is what we've done. We've looked at what's happening in the cloud and what we see as the future of cloud workloads, and we've tried to create the ability to work in there and give customers the ability to do the cloud workloads securely. So we have our cornerstone down the bottom left here, our workload security, our traditional server-based security. Then we have on the left our container security. If you've got customers that are running Docker, Kubernetes, running stuff on OpenShift or on the cloud itself, and are running stuff in containers, we can provide container protection capabilities. We can provide pre-runtime protection too. So you might have customers that are talking about DevOps. Well, we like to talk about DevSecOps. We like to, developers always seen the security people as a fence, someone that actually holds them up, prevents them from doing it, because you can't do any releases until you go through CAB, and you miss CAB this week, and it's not going to be for another fortnight. So now what we can do is we can put those security measures in place. We can work with our developers to provide a secure way for deploying by doing our pre-runtime scanning. So when you're talking containers, dev gets an image, they write a couple of lines of code, and they push that image to the registry to then be published. We integrate with the registry and we can scan the image. We can scan it for old libraries that have a number of vulnerabilities in them, or libraries that have been malformed and actually malicious with malware in them. A dev might have been a little bit slack and left their private keys in there, or some passwords and clear text. We can do that pre-runtime scanning and automatically notify the devs by their automation channel that this is not clean and send it back. Devs are fine with that, so then they just got to retype some code and then fire it off again. And then once it's clean and released, we can use our workload security for protecting that container for its life cycle, be it seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks. And then we have our application security. So as mentioned, we've got customers now that are born in the clouds, or they've really embraced this cloud technology and they're running stuff serverless. So application security is the protection capabilities we have from there. We can provide anti-malware and intrusion prevention capabilities into that serverless application, just by adding a couple of lines of code at the very beginning of the whatever app they write. File storage security. You think of your SAN-based storage and how you secure that. That's the malware scanning capabilities for that. Trend Micro is about to release our file storage security, which will work for AWS S3 buckets, the Azure container blobs, and the Google storage, whatever that's called. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to jump down to the bottom right now. So network security. This is our ability to provide intrusion prevention capabilities in the transit gateway. At the moment, it's only available for AWS, but we will be bringing it to other cloud-based providers very, very shortly. And then lastly, I want to talk about conformity. So conformity is Trend Micro's offering to provide a compliance checking real-time for your cloud-based services. At the moment, we only provide Azure and AWS, and GCP is due out later this year. So what we can do here is we can do scanning in real time across multiple accounts. Some of the stuff can be done manually and is very time consuming and very boring, and then goes out of date as soon as it is complete. And most of the stuff can be done by other tools too, but we provide you a real-time interface that can look at this and tell you that the minute there is a drift in something that comes out of compliance. So we can do regular compliance here, things like GDRP, NIST, HIPAA. We have the Australian ISM in there at the moment. That was recently released, and we're looking at trying to get the New Zealand ISM in there by the end of this year.
Sorry, Mike, I'm just going to squeeze in here. We've got a couple of questions as well. I know you've got a lot to cover.
Cool. I've got one more. Give me 30 more seconds.
Go for it.
Cool. And then the last thing is technical security compliance. So something like you've got a new server stood up in the cloud and you've left RDP access or SSH access open publicly, we'll alert straight away as soon as that happens. And that is our Cloud One suite, and that is my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you rushing into this one. So we are a bit overboard, but I'll quickly go over the questions for you, Mike. Yes. The first question we have from Ian Fenwick, it's does Trend Micro Office 365 protection sits in front of Office 365 virus protection or after? Does the Trend Micro Office 365 protection via a mail flow connection? So
yeah. It goes in via a API. So it's an API integration into the mailbox itself. So it doesn't sit before or after. Microsoft will do it scanning. We'll do it scanning, and then once that's done its scanning, once it actually goes into mail store, we'll do our scanning. It is real time and highly effective.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Ian, hopefully this answers the question. Do let us know if it doesn't. Next and last question we have for you, Mike, is please advise the upgrade platform from worry-free services to worry-free advanced.
Worry-free services providing is SaaS-based. To move to worry-free advanced, you just contact SoftSol and they will fill out the licensing change for you. It is that simple.
It's that simple.
That will then become,
Awesome. Thanks for that, Mike. Now, if you have any other questions, do let us know in the chat. So before we go towards the Trend Micro's pop quiz, we figured out we figured out the answers based on the timestamps now. So the winner for $100 JB Hi-Fi vouchers for the WatchGuard pop quiz, they are in order. So the first is Isaac Park. Congrats on the $100 JB Hi-Fi voucher winning that. Second one, we have Mike Allen for winning the $100 voucher. And third one and last one, we have Dean Fletcher to win the $100 JB Hi-Fi voucher for answering the correct answers for WatchGuard pop quiz. You three give your fingers a rest for this question for Trend Micros and the StorageCraft one, and sit back, enjoy your $100. And sorry, VPN from a first response from Mark, that isn't the correct answer. and also all people that ask the question, that you do get a free license for Panda security as well. So we'll be in touch based on that. Okay, so that's the WatchGuard stuff done and dusted. So the question for everyone else, remember there are $300 vouchers up for grabs, and this time it's Liquorland for Trend Micro. And the question is, do answer them in the question section of GoToWebinar. And the question for Trend Micro is, what does XDR stand for? What does XDR stand for? That's your question. Feel free to, $100 up for grabs. First 3 attendees to answer this question, you get to win $100 vouchers for Liquorland. Okay, I got one answer right here. Anyone else want to grab yourself $100 Liquorland voucher? Okay. Oh wow, answer just flew in. Okay, so we have the first and correct answer we have is Malcolm Wheeler. Thanks for that. So you are a winner of $100 Liquorland voucher. I need some background music next time. I'll organize for that. Next, we also have Robin. The answer is extended detection response. That's the correct answer. And also, or you can use cross detection and response. That's the correct answer for what XDR stands for. And Malcolm Wheeler, you're the first one. We got Rowan. The second answer, you got the correct one. And we also have Mark, I don't want to butcher your last name, but Stroder, Mark Stroder, you're also the third answer that came through. So congrats, guys. You're 3 other winners for $100 Liquorland vouchers. Thanks, Mike. Next up, we have Carl Thompson. Come on through, Carl, and over to you. Sorry, man, can't hear you. I think you might be on mute. Give me a sec.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Ash. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks to WatchGuard and Trend for kicking this off. I think there's been some interesting stuff from a security perspective already discussed, and the key thing with StorageCraft in this whole security area is it's your last line of defense. And I think Mike from Trend just made a good comment before that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and you need to have these layers of protection in place to ensure we can survive these challenges. So yeah, again, my name's Carl Thompson, and appreciate your time to come in and listen to these webinars today. But yeah, really excited to run you through what StorageCraft has to offer around our latest technologies. Sort of a couple of sort of key solutions that we have that I'm going to touch on here, but then sort of drill down a bit more on focus. Is our Shadow Safe. So this is sort of our next generation. A lot of our customers are familiar with Shadow Protect, which has been around since 2003. So Shadow Safe really takes us to the next step of data protection and recovery. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today as my main focus. OneSafe is our scale-out NAS storage. Now, this is a great product for backup. So whether it's Shadow Safe, Shadow Protect, if you're using other backup products, this is a great storage for that. It scales out, so you can add your own disks. It will grow with the customer requirements. You can stack up to 7 of these together into a cluster to continue to grow for your data requirements. And the big benefit here is the dual use. So you can have some shares on here for backup. You can have other shares that integrate into AD to replace those file servers. And the big thing here is the OneSafe has built-in immutable snapshots. So every 90 seconds on your massive file shares, it will snapshot that. They're immutable. They can't be overwritten by ransomware. And if there's a problem, users can right-click previous versions and grab their files back. If an entire share, 100 terabyte share gets infected, we can instantly promote that share from a snapshot to completely recover that. There's no time. It will instantly recover. So we're seeing this whole challenge around protecting file servers and dealing with large quantities of data and rapid recovery. This deals with those scenarios. When you're talking about your virtual infrastructure, your physical servers, that's where Shadow Safe can kick in for that backup and recovery back into that infrastructure. With ShadowSafe and our OneSafe Solo. OneSafe Solo is an appliance based on the ShadowSafe technology, so it doesn't have any storage in it. This is basically a ShadowSafe gateway, and I'll touch on that a bit today. But with ShadowSafe and OneSafe Solo, you can complement that with disaster recovery as a service. So sending a copy of those physical virtual machine backups into StorageCraft Cloud for instant recovery. So I'll touch on that a bit today as well. So this is the sort of key latest and greatest from StorageCraft. When we look at ShadowSafe and obviously the OneSafe Solo, the big focus here is on powerful data protection. So this is reliable recovery, flexible recovery, instant recovery, features that are in Shadow Protect but have been enhanced significantly. Our agent-based protection has a number of benefits, but also we're extending that capability into host space backup for Hyper-V and VMware as well. So where the agent doesn't fit in, you've got the option for host space as well. And the idea is it's compatible with your existing backup infrastructure. So again, the OneSafe Solo doesn't have any storage. You can back up direct to cloud. You can put a disk in it. You can use a USB drive. And with ShadowSafe and OneSafe Solo, you can use existing NAS storage as well. So very flexible from there. And the whole idea with this product is simplification and plug and play. So the idea is we create a backup policy that includes the retention and the replication on one SLA. We apply that to any physical virtual machine, and that is going to manage the whole life cycle of that data protection. So really simplifying the ease of use, getting up and running quickly in minimal time and upskill required. So that's the key. These products, in fact, even the OneSafe NAS, ShadowSafe, OneSafe Solo, all managed by one system. So this is a virtual appliance that you can deploy your own private one system, or you can now leverage the StorageCraft Cloud One system. So it's a free public hosted multi-tenant one system where everything feeds back into a single dashboard. You can have all of your customers feed in here for multi-site management, which really simplifies that. So all backup recovery, there's no other interface for ShadowSafe. It is all driven from here, which is really nice and simple. This is just a screenshot of the policy. I'd actually like to, if we get time, to run you through a bit of a demo, but this just points out, the simplification around backup frequency to some local storage, some retention, and then add in our replication jobs. So there's no need to have separate softwares or bang bits and pieces together to provide a full SLA orientated data protection. This is going to manage, and we can report on the whole SLA as a whole. Are we meeting those recovery points? Do we have an offsite copy, and so forth? So that gives us a really good flow and management. And then, of course, is the recovery. What good's a backup if I can't recover, and if it takes too long to recover, or if it takes days to recover? So StorageCraft ShadowSafe Virtual Boot has really taken this virtual boot technology a step further. With Hyper-V and VMware, we can instantly virtualize machines in less than a second, and regardless of how large they are, it will boot directly off the backup. It'll do a transparent backfill in the back end to migrate all of that data across while users are up and running. So very powerful. It's got some smarts in there to reading ahead, so it's going to read the boot stuff and the services and the applications that users are trying to access, and then we'll just trickle away through the rest of the data. So really powerful instant recovery technology. And really, in the SoftSol announced that we're going to cover the latest and greatest. So I just wanted to sort of point out where ShadowSafe has come from. It's it's around 2 years old now, launched in 2018. We've just released version 4 a couple of weeks ago, which introduces a number of additional features into Hyper-V, such as host-based protection for Hyper-V. So prior to now, it has been agent-based for Hyper-V, and host-based options are available for VMware from launch. So this extends that capability. We've got some enhanced protection for standalone ESXi environments. ShadowSafe and Solo now introduces data compression. So prior to version 4 was really targeted at mid-market customers that are probably using some sort of storage that does deduping compression, which you can still use. We've now got the software doing that for particularly these solos where you might have USB drives or internal disks. You've now got flexibility around scheduling when backups run. The public one systems I touched on is what's required for the Solo. We now have opened that up to use that with ShadowSafe. So where you've got ShadowSafe environments and Solo, we can manage it all for free from the public one system cloud-based. And that really does simplify the deployment. You now don't have to go and deploy a one system virtual machine into a data center to manage your customers. You can just leverage the cloud. And then finally, the direct to cloud. So this feature allows you to back up directly to another offsite location or directly to the StorageCraft cloud. You don't need any storage on site. So, you could be in a problem with a customer and we're in the middle of a lockdown here in Auckland. We could go and deploy the software remotely. We don't need any storage available. We can get them backing up right away, which is pretty cool. With the Hyper-V host space feature that was added, the number of features that come into this. So, you've got your discovery of the VMs, obviously the host space backup, you can still use agent, but also the auto policy assignment. So if an engineer goes and creates a new VM, you don't have to remember to go and add in a backup policy. It can automatically apply a policy and start protecting that for us, including the replication of site. And then the full restore virtual boot, these capabilities were in there from version 2, but yet really just integrating all of those components. We've got a lot of Hyper-V orientated partners in New Zealand. This really completes that sort of that fully fledged feature that we've had within VMware. In terms of deployment, as I mentioned, the one system can be cloud-based now, or you can do your own private install of one system. It's just a virtual machine. It's all pre-built, ready to be deployed. But then each site basically has a service node VM. So in Hyper-V or VMware, you'll deploy what's called the service node VM. It's a CentOS 7 machine pre-configured that will automatically start talking to the cloud. And then you basically can configure that to do host-based backup, agent-based backup, any physical virtual machines, to local storage, and then if you want to replicate a copy off-site or to StorageCraft Cloud. So really simple deployment there. It just creates a single service node VM at the site that's going to manage the storage, the backup scheduling, and so forth, and then the agents as required. When we look at the Solo, that effectively is some hardware that is running the service node software on it. So the Solo is the service node. This can have storage in it. You can attach USB drive. You can use a NAS storage. And when you buy Solo, each machine that you back up includes a copy of that machine in the cloud. So you're subscribed with the StorageCraft Cloud subscription. So that's really how those pieces come together. The Solo does require you to use the cloud-based one system because it will automatically register in there and get going for you. And yeah, as I mentioned, it really is the service node. It does have a pull-out bay. I've got one sitting here right now. It's actually running, so I'm not going to pull the bay out, but this is a little Solo here. One of the cool things I really like, I'm just trying to find the camera here, is there's no VGA port or anything. It's literally Ethernet, USB, and power. You literally plug it in. It'll pop up in the cloud portal, and I'll take you through a bit of a demo, and away you go. So it's just really that straightforward. If you do plug in a drive or a USB drive, it'll automatically register in there ready to go, which is really cool. Some people say, well, Carl, if you do host-based backup, now why do I need the agent? And obviously for physical servers, you'll need an agent. But coming from Shadow Protect, we've always harped on about how critical an agent is to a successful backup. And that really still stands true. So our agent's got a built-in VSS provider. So it's one of the only backup products that really do this properly. But having a VSS provider built in is guaranteeing that we're going to talk to Exchange, SharePoint, SQL, any VSS-aware application to the VSS writer and get a consistent backup. Now with host-based, we will use the Microsoft integration tools or the VMware components that you've installed to try and perform the VSS-aware backup using Microsoft VSS provider. This is just really takes it to a higher level. The other benefit with the agent is that it's sector level. So it's a smaller backup footprint because it's real-time tracking. It is a very fast way to get in-guest snapshots, low impact. There's some environments that you'll come across, and not necessarily for Shadow Safe, but we've certainly seen it in other products along the years where you'll do a host-based backup and they might experience a stun where the VM hangs or pauses, or a really large VM is struggling with CVT, and putting the agent in can really deal with that better. So you've now got the flexibility. Hey, look, agent might be better where it suits, put it in. Perhaps you can't reboot a VM right now, do host-based backup. You've really got that flexibility. So it's just really extending that reach. In terms of the agent, when you run it, it's pretty straightforward. I'll actually go through this quickly. It's cloud or private one system. Are you installing the backup agent? Are you wanting to deploy a service node? So a customer, you'll deploy a service node into Hyper-V with us. That will also include the host-based backup and restore APIs. Any additional Hyper-V server, you'll just put on the host-based backup and restore APIs. These two bottom ones don't require a reboot, but that provisions it for you. The backup agent, again, any physical or virtual machine. So really easy with the MSI installer. For VMware, we've got a deployment tool, and this is really similar to deploying VCSA. You'll run the deployment tool, choose your VMware environment and deploy in there, whether you're doing the one system or the service nodes, and that'll go and provision it for you. So really straightforward. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, with OneSafe Solo, it includes the cloud services. This is an optional extra you can subscribe to with ShadowSafe, where you can replicate a copy or send your backups directly to StorageCraft Cloud. So this is for total business continuity. And the idea here is it's not just offsite storage, which you might be offering your customers already to your own office or data center, but it also includes all of the computer networking capability. So this is a very affordable solution. Each machine that you subscribe gives you an extra terabyte pulled at the MSP level. So each machine, additional terabyte to help reduce any overage costs. But you get free 30 days of virtualization per year. And as you virtualize, a pfSense firewall kicks in. It can be pre-configured through a nice, easy portal we've got, to establish IPsec VPN, client VPNs, port forwarding, public IPs. Everything you need can be done there for total business continuity. Click a button, will auto virtualize all of your servers for the customer, establish the VPN or whatever firewall rules, and get up and running, which is really cool. So look, that's really all I wanted to touch on. Looks like I've got about 10 minutes or so I'd just like to run through a quick demo here. So probably what I'll start with is this is the public one system. If I jump into configuration and then sites, this is generally where you're going to start. We're going to create a site for a customer, put in the name, choose the time zone. It'll give us a site ID. And then with that site ID, we can go to that site and basically deploy a service node. So as per those screenshots are showing you the deployment tool for VMware or and I'm just going to check I'm still sharing my screen here because it dropped off. Yeah, I am. So either the deployment tool for VMware or the MSI installer. If you've got the Solo, again, plug it into power, plug it into Ethernet, it'll pick up a DHCP. If there's no DHCP, it actually runs a hotspot. You can connect to it over Wi-Fi, give it a DHCP through the web page, but that gets you up and running. So I've actually got a Solo here. So with a Solo, you just simply come in here, go activate Solo, and enter a claim code, which is written on the bottom of the device. So very easy to activate that. It'll register into the site. And then when you jump over to storage, if the Solo, so this is the one here I've got in my Auckland office, has got an internal drive in it, which I do, it has automatically added that in. Now, if I go ahead here and just really to show you how easy it is, I've got a little cute little pink USB drive here. If you're watching my camera, I'll plug in the USB drive in here. So you could talk a customer through this. Hey, we need some storage on site. Plug in the USB drive. I'm sure Arsh or SoftSol could actually ship these Solos directly to the customer site if they're not in your bubble. And that's as easy as that. They plug it in. Right here on my screen now, it's already popped up. I haven't done anything. It's detected an external drive, so I'll claim it. I'll call it AKL for Auckland USB My Passport. Put in an encryption password. Obviously that's important, being an external drive. And that's it. That USB drive is now registered and ready to go. Incorrect storage password. I've just realized that this, it's doing that because I've actually used this device before and I didn't format it. So I'm actually just gonna see if it lets me accept that again. I think I've remembered what I had it as. Let's just see. Didn't expect it to. Anyway, basically, it's that simple. As I said, I probably just need to go in there and actually reset that device because it did have an encryption key on it. In fact, we can probably unplug it and plug it back in, I guess. I was gonna go and send it back up there, but it's, look, the idea here is very, very simple to plug and play and get this thing up and running. Plug it back in again now. Look, I won't wait for it just in case I don't have the same password. I probably need to format it. But basically, jumping into policies, we can go and add a policy. So this is where I'll come in and say, cool, I want to back up to, the internal storage or direct to cloud, and we choose, the frequency of the backup and our retention. So that, again, if we're going to local storage, we can then add in a replication target. So we could replicate to StorageCraft Cloud, hourly, daily, and it draws out a bit of a workflow. So really straightforward from that perspective. And then, yeah, on the Hyper-V host server, you can go in and start backing up at Hyper-V host, VMs that are running, VMs that are turned off. If I jump into a machine here, just to show you, again, how simple this is, go through and run the agent. Again, Cloud One system, I'll install the backup agent, go next. So we need the agent registration token. So again, under sites, we've got the agent registration token here. I can just punch that straight in, as well as the site ID. So that's all we need to get this VM to install this agent, activate it, and get up and running. So once that's installed, I can obviously go and apply the policy. It'll start backing up. It'll start, managing that recovery points, and then obviously replicating to StorageCraft Cloud if that's part of my policy. So really straightforward. The agent does require an initial reboot to put in the low-level sector driver, but that really gets us up and running right away. So again, once you've got the backup installed, it'll pop up under protection. If I jump down to, well, in fact, I can filter it to Auckland. Well, actually, scroll down, you can see here. So by Auckland, there's an existing machine I've already got. This other one that's just in the process of rebooting will pop up here. I can apply the policy and start backing up. Now, the other thing as well around the recovery, I mentioned a very fast way for recovery. I'm just going to skip through just because we're going to run out of time. But if I select a machine here, it'll load up all of the available recovery points, regardless of where they are. And even if this backup's residing in the cloud, I can boot straight back into VMware or Hyper-V. So I'll give it a name, physical server 4 recovery. I'll call it SoftSol. Choose between VMware and Hyper-V. CPU memory, Gen 1, Gen 2. We can do the virtual boot or migrate the data, which is effectively a full restore. But with virtual boot, it'll instantly boot. I can say, look, I don't want to backfill. This is just for testing. It'll just do a boot and power on the VM. So really simple, 4 clicks, recover, and away we go. It's really that simple. I can see that VM in my Hyper-V here has actually already been created and it's turning on. So literally, it's just ludicrous how fast this is. This could be a 4 terabyte server. It doesn't matter. It is booting straight off the backup. If I tick migrate data, once this thing actually gets up and running, the backfill starts feeding across to fully migrate this VM. And if I go and look at the job of this VM, in fact, while it's booting, I guess we can go in there and take a look. I'll just push this over to the side. In terms of the architecture with ShadowSafe, what we have to do is, we use a Google RPC protocol, but basically this. Just showing you New Zealand time there, 4:54. Literally in 6 split seconds, ShadowSafe had finished recovering the server. It took probably 1 or 2 seconds here for Hyper-V to actually create the VM, virtualize it. It's obviously now reading off my NAS storage to go ahead here and backfill and grab the data it needs. But the idea is once this boots up, users log in, it's loading up, it's backfilling the data to start the services, but users come in, log in, access their files, folders, and in the background, it's pulling across all of the rest of the data. So very, very fast and simple, the same experience restoring into VMware. And obviously, depending on where your backups are, will indicate how fast this backfill happens. This is just on a NAS. If those backups are on a USB drive, internal disk, or you're booting out of the StorageCraft cloud back into Hyper-V, you might be limited by your bandwidth. But again, the performance as it reads this is writing into the primary storage. The speed will just get faster and faster. So really, really simple, elegant solution for that complete end-to-end disaster recovery. And then obviously backed with the StorageCraft cloud. So if you have a site failure or a catastrophic event that we can't recover locally, if you're using StorageCraft cloud, we can go and virtualize there. So look, thanks for your time. I think I'm about at my limit of time, so I just wanted to run you through a bit of a quick demo. I guess probably just the final thing I'd like to add in there is some of the activity we've got going on at the moment. So in a couple of weeks, we're doing some short technical boot camps that's going to cover off the OneSafe NAS storage I touched on briefly. We've got ShadowSafe 30-minute deep dive and a 30-minute OneSafe solo. So these are all coming up. If you want the registration links for these, SoftSol will be sending them out or reach out to us to grab them. There's also the triple play incentive. So I think it's a bit of a play on words because I know it's the triple layer security webinar at the moment. So yeah, we've got some incentives around getting our partners certified. So it's a good time now if you're stuck at home to go ahead and get certified. Also around quoting the OneSafe and attending the demo. Such as this one today would actually qualify you through that stage, but go and get a quote and get it out to your customers and get the ball rolling. There's a good $100 incentive there, as well as the social. So again, if you're interested in these triple play incentives, SoftSol has all the information. Reach out to Ash or the team to pass it on. Or myself or my colleague Andrea here in Auckland as well. So Andrea helps from a territory account management perspective, can help with that as well. But yeah, thanks for your time. Ash, I'll hand over to you for any Q&A and obviously for the prize draw.
Awesome. Thanks, Carl. Very good preso and the demo. Appreciate you doing this for us. One question we do have, this question from Dean Fletcher. And the question is there any way to make the external USB drive plugged into OneSafe Solo offline or immutable so ransomware cannot get access to the backups?
Yeah, look, that's a really good question. I'm just trying to think if I've got a diagram. So the key thing with ShadowSafe and the Solo is the only thing that talks to the storage is our infrastructure. So with the Solo, the hard drive that you slot into it or the USB drive, the only thing that's talking to it is the Solo storage. It's not a share, it's not an SMB share. All of the backups talk to the Solo via an encrypted gRPC protocol. It's based on TCP, and that then will then go and revert that onto the storage using whatever storage protocol. So, with the USB and the internal disk, that in the Solo, that's already secured. If you're using ShadowSafe and you're using a NAS, the key thing to think about is how do I secure that NAS? If I'm using SMB NFS or iSCSI, the only thing that needs to talk to that is the service node, the ShadowSafe service node. So you can add a second NIC in, create a backup area network, completely isolate that NAS off your storage onto a backup area network. Nothing else in the network needs to talk to that. All of the backups will go gRPC to the service node. That'll then talk SMB to that storage. So you can secure it with a backup area network. You can create a share that is restricted by IP address to only the service node. There's a whole number of things. Obviously, securing the share with authentication credentials is important as well. But yeah, absolutely critical. If your backups get infected or if they're sitting as an open share on your network, they're potentially useless. Ransomware is going to try and get that first. So yeah, absolutely, totally secure, completely isolated from the environment with the solution. Obviously, the encryption and that issue I encountered, that's really around encrypting the contents of the data. And it's one thing to say, hey, my backups are encrypted. That doesn't mean you're safe. Just because they're encrypted, ransomware can go and re-encrypt that and it's useless to you. So yeah, encryption helps prevent someone access the contents. It doesn't stop someone from corrupting the data. So yeah, good question, thank you.
And Dean says, well explained, thanks. Thanks for that, Carl. Okay, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to pop them in the question section. There we go, we have one more. Does Solo or ShadowSafe allow you to replicate to Azure or AWS?
Yeah, it does. It's actually not built in yet. I know that these are coming as intuitive options that are built in. There's a number of options around both of them. With Amazon, there is what's called an S3 gateway. It's a tiny VM you download, and effectively it presents itself as SMB or NFS to ShadowSafe or Solo, and then we back up to that, and it just sends it straight into S3. And a similar type of scenario with Azure. There's a number of options with Azure around Azure File or blob storage, etc. We are working towards actually natively bringing those capabilities in. But yeah, right now it's around leveraging a remote site that's running the service node with storage associated with it, or StorageCraft Cloud, or using some of these other options that are available. And again, they are documented on the StorageCraft support site as options, but yeah, it'll get better very soon as they add those capabilities directly in. Thanks for that.
Awesome, thanks, Carl. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll jump on to the quiz, pop quiz for StorageCraft. And the question for everyone is, Remember that, again, $300 vouchers for Mighty Ape this time for any first 3 attendees to answer this. And the question is, how long did it take Carl to recover a machine? Again, the question is, how long did it take Carl to recover a machine? Okay, the answers are storming in. Carl, you let me know what the correct answer is. I will read off the answers. Is it 6 seconds?
No, it's not.
Okay. Is it 10 seconds?
No. So we'll take the best answer. So one of those is better than the other, but that wasn't the answer. But have we got any more guesses at this stage?
4, 5, 7 seconds. These are individual answers. We also have 5 minutes. We also have 6 split seconds. And
that's our first winner right there, Ash. 6 split seconds is how long. That's how long it took Shadow Save to tell Hyper-V and clean up and say, I'm finished. Hyper-V, this is what you need to do. It did take Hyper-V. I think I opened it up live. It probably took 1 to 2 seconds. You know, we saw it creating the VM and then turning it on. So, you know, obviously assigning it the resource, the memory, and actually virtualizing it did take 1 or 2 seconds. But yeah, 6 split seconds was the answer I was looking for in terms of the demo I did today. So yeah, take the first answers that were closest to 6 split seconds, you know, in terms of the time. So I think you had the next one you said was 5 seconds, Ash, and then 6 seconds. So hey, look, they're the next closest probably, but I'll let you work that one. I can't see the answers.
Okay, so you're going with 6-second answers, 5-second answers, and these are your options. Is that correct, Carl?
Yeah, so the 6 split seconds, and then yeah, the next closest in terms of number of seconds to that.
Okay, let's see. We got. Okay, let me bring Will into this one. He can help us out with the answers.
We've got 6 split seconds, 5 seconds from Raymond Wujaja, and then a whole bunch of people that answered 6 seconds, Carl. So not quite sure what a split second is.
Well, sorry, to be honest, am I even correct? Is that even the correct? Is it milliseconds? Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Yeah, so it's 6 milliseconds. Maybe I'm saying it wrong and I've confused it.
I want to see 3 people type in 6 ms. Those are the winners. Yeah. Type away 6 ms. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Wow. Blair Epsilon.
Okay.
Oh, I've already told you.
Matt Hart and Jeremy Usselman, you 3 are the first to type 6 ms. Well done. Jason Gass, stop typing.
That's awesome. So now
thanks
we'll
everyone.
The first answers closest to you know, a second, the first ones, because we already talked it through.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks for that, Carl. Thanks everyone for joining in. We'll touch base again, of course, in terms of the pop quiz answers and send you all the vouchers and stuff. Thank you for, again, WatchGuard presenters, Kurt and Luke, Trend Micro, Mike, and of course, our good old Carl from StorageCraft, and Will for organizing all of this. And thank you everyone for joining in. This session is recorded, so you should receive a copy of it shortly. Thanks everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks, Ash.
Yes. Bye.